Is the Yeshu in the Talmud the same as the Jesus of Christianity? Let's break it down. The Talmud mentions a figure named Yeshu. The Talmudic accounts refer to events around the 1st century BCE. The Gospels, written from about 70 CE to 110 CE, tell the story of Jesus, with the earliest Gospel, Mark, written around 70 CE. The Talmud was written down from the 2nd to the 4th century CE, but it preserves detailed accounts of earlier times. The Talmudic literature is meticulously recorded, often transcribing full conversations and events with precision. For example, it records in great detail a conversation between the high priest and Roman Emperor Vespasian, directly reflecting the political and religious climate of the 1st century BCE. This level of detail underscores the Talmud's effort to preserve history accurately, often with incredible specificity. The Talmud claims that Yeshu's mother, Mary, had an affair with a Roman soldier named Pantera, leading to a scandalous birth, nothing like the virgin birth central to Christianity. The Talmud also tells of Yeshu's journey to Egypt, where he reportedly learned and practiced idolatry. Upon returning to Israel, Yeshu introduced idol worship to the people, ultimately becoming an idolater himself. This portrayal contrasts sharply with the Christian narrative, where Jesus is revered as the embodiment of purity and righteousness. What's even more striking is this: both Yeshu and Jesus share a major commonality. Neither had a Jewish father. Yeshu's birth in the Talmud is illegitimate, while Jesus in Christianity was born of a divine father with no Jewish father in sight. Now let's talk about the Gospels. In Mark chapter 6 verse 3, the earliest Gospel, it says, "Isn't this the carpenter, the son of Mary?" Notice something: Joseph isn't mentioned. Why? It's because in the original narrative, Joseph didn't exist in the story. They couldn't have Jesus be born from a royal Davidic line if Joseph wasn't part of the picture. So what did they do? They faked it. Later Gospel writers, especially Matthew and Luke, inserted Joseph's genealogy to fabricate Jesus' connection to David. Matthew chapter 1 verse 16 says, "And Jacob the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, who is called the Messiah." They invented Joseph's lineage to make Jesus fit the messianic prophecy. This wasn't a small oversight, it was deliberate deception. The Gospels had to make Jesus appear like the prophesied Messiah, even if it meant creating a fake genealogy out of thin air. As for Mary, in Mark, she's just called the mother of Jesus, with no mention of her virginity. The later Gospels added the story of her immaculate conception to elevate her status and make the divine birth seem legitimate. In the Talmud, Mary is just an ordinary woman with no special status. Another stark contrast to the venerated figure she became in Christianity. So here's the bottom line: the Yeshu in the Talmud and the Jesus of Christianity are not the same. The Jesus story was crafted and altered, with Joseph's genealogy inserted to cover up the lack of a Jewish father, and the Immaculate Conception story tacked on to make Mary into a divine figure. The Talmud's Yeshu and the Gospel's Jesus are two very different figures, and one was intentionally fabricated,